Meeting remotely. Madam Clerk, can you please provide the council with the necessary information?
Will be participating remotely in today's open and closed sessions. Per AB 2449, Councilmember Aguilar Hernandez will be participating via the Just Cause exemption. This will be Councilmember Aguilar Hernandez's second and final meeting using AB 2449 Just Cause exemption for 2024. Councilmember Aguilar Hernandez will provide a brief description of her request.
Participation in today's closed and open session via AB 2449 Just Cause due to child care need that prevents me from attending in person. I do not have anyone over 18 years old in the room with me and provide a notification if that should change.
I move to allow Councilmember Aguilar Hernandez and Soto to participate in today's, not Soto yet?
No, not.
She's not on?
For Councilmember Aguilar Hernandez, we do not need a vote for the
Okay.
Just Cause. In addition to that, Mayor Pro Tem Soto requests the council's approval to participate remotely in today's closed session. Per AB 2449, Mayor Pro Tem Soto is requesting remote participation via emergency circumstances due to a physical or family medical emergency that prevents her from attending in person. This exemption is required to be voted upon and approved by the council.
Okay, so then I move to allow Councilmember Soto's participation in today's meeting remotely. Do I have a second? Okay. Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll?
This will be a voice vote.
Voice vote, okay. All in favor? Aye. Aye.
And Councilmember Aguilar Hernandez also gets a vote on.
Yes.
Yeah, and I wanted to clarify that the last time that I used the 2449 AB request was only for actually for 15 minutes of the session, AB 2449. So I just wanted to clarify that this wasn't a complete second use of that.
Okay, aye. You got an aye from, okay. So I'd like to call this meeting to order for the City Council meeting of June 4th, 2024. Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Councilmember Aguilera Hernandez.
Aye, here.
Councilmember Escobedo.
Here.
Councilmember Cordero.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Soto has not joined just yet. And Mayor Patino.
Here. So the first order of business is public comment period. Madam Clerk?
We do have 3 requests to speak.
Okay. Thank you. So I have Irene Pickle, followed by John Mata, followed by Matt Cherkoff. You come over here, Eileen, to the podium. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. My name is Eileen Pickle. I'm a 5th or 6th generation of the Central Coast. And I am here to support the fire department, the firefighters who give constant service to the San Maria Valley. And I believe they require respect and recognition with all their experience. Do you hear me? Okay. Do I need to repeat what I've already said?
Oh, you can go ahead. That's fine.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay. In order for our city, for all the citizens and the non-citizens to be safe in our city, we need a fire department that will continue with the needed services that they provide. I know my family and many other families have been provided emergency services that has been invaluable, and I am ever grateful and thankful for that. So I ask that you, the City Council, supports the firefighters as they really do require and deserve. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Pickle. John Mata, followed by Matt Cherkoff. Good evening, Mr. Mata.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, City Council, City staff. As you know, I'm John Mata, Fire Inspector. I've been employed in the city for the last 2 years. And like I said last night, I've been here part of a change. And the reason why I'm up here tonight is to talk about a retention issue that I don't know if you guys are aware of, but it is amongst us. There are neighboring agencies around us that are hiring. Just alone, our neighboring agencies are looking for 20 to 25 firefighters. We do not have a fighting chance to keep our firefighters here if they choose to leave for a higher wage. We're talking anywhere between 17 to 20% just walking in the door. And to me, that's alarming, especially at the rate the city is growing. We cannot afford to lose our firefighters, our engineers, our captains, our seasoned, have been here for 10, 15 years. We can't afford to lose them. This 14% that we're asking is just the beginning. We're asking for a fighting chance to keep those in place so we can help build our city. Our city is growing street by street, address by address, every day. Every day. We have not added a new station. We have added personnel, but that doesn't stop us. That doesn't help us in the long ball. We are so far behind. And if we lose a captain or an engineer in our higher ranks to a different agency just for, 17, 18% more, it's setting us back. It's going to be hard to staff those positions. As you know, we have an influx of firefighters, which is great. That'll help us, not today, that'll help us in about 5 years when they start to promote. So tonight I'm up here to ask, please go back to the table for us. Let's talk about this. Let's negotiate. Let's bring apples to apples and not bananas and grapes or whatever to the table and have an honest discussion. We need a fighting chance to keep our firefighters here and not have to worry about neighboring agencies pulling them away. We need to have this fighting chance. For me as an inspector, I'm 22% behind the neighboring agencies. The neighboring agencies are hiring. But like I said last night, I love this community. I love working here. I love my family. They welcome me with open arms. And I'm asking here tonight that you guys just sit down, try to figure this out for us, and just understand that the bell's gonna ring when we start losing firefighters. We start hemorrhaging them. We're gonna be in a lot of trouble here as a city. So I just ask for you to go back to the table and open up a conversation. Thank you.
Thank you. Matt Cherkoff?
Good evening, City Council, Mayor, City staff. Sorry I wasn't in attendance last night. I had a family commitment. I wish I could have been here for that presentation. I was able to watch most of it. Generally speaking, I'm happy of the questions that you asked. There were a lot of questions that were focused at us. There were a lot of questions that were focused at our pay. And I hope you got a lot of those answers. It seemed like one of the talking points that kept coming up was overtime. How do we prevent overtime? How do we minimize overtime? And you heard assume the fire chief's response was 20,000 hours of overtime last year were attributed to vacant positions. I think that's huge. So those questions, how do we limit overtime? How do we minimize overtime? That's the symptom. But what's the problem? The problem is we can't hire qualified firefighters. We can't retain qualified firefighters. And we're just having a hard time. The applicant pool is dwindling every year. We managed to get some good firefighters, just not enough. And unfortunately, those vacancies that we continue to have lead to additional academies. It leads to an additional estimated cost of $180,000 a year to run a training cadre in an academy. We did 2 this year. That's a lot of money that's walking out the door. I'm happy to see that negotiations is once again, our conference with labor negotiators is on your closed session agenda. And hopefully we can make a decision which way we're going. You've declared impasse. We're going back to the table. Are you imposing on us? We're not doing anything. Let's figure it out. Let's get past this. Let's look forward. The other thing too, there was a reference in one of the questions to review the link of the MRG report that was commissioned in March of 2023. That MRG report was not in accordance with our MOU, was not in accordance with the salary survey that's been in our MOU for a long time, 30 plus years. That's an unfair labor practice right there. The numbers that we've been sharing with you, those are the numbers from the agreed upon salary survey procedure that's been in our MOU for over 30 years. The MRG report was incredibly inaccurate. We sent your chief negotiator the details about the inaccuracies. Never once did anybody come to the table to correct that information. I doubt you got the corrected information, because if you did, you would see that our numbers represent the actual fact that today we're 14.5% behind, and come July 1st, we are 17.5% behind. That's the average of market. In 2 years, Guadalupe will be making exactly what we're making today. That's little Guadalupe down the road. We're not Guadalupe, we're San Maria.
Thank you, Mr. Cherkoff.
Thank you.
The City Council will now recess to a closed session and will reconvene to the regular meeting portion of the agenda at 5:30. Madam Clerk, can you please read the titles of the closed agenda items?
Yes, Madam Mayor. Item 3A is a conference with labor negotiators pursuant to California Government Code Section 54957.6. And item 3B is a public employee recruitment and city manager pursuant to California Government Code Section 54956.8.
I would like to note that the interpreter for this evening is Ms. Rojo. Ms. Rojo, could you mind raising your hand? Ask her for a listening device if you would like interpretation services. Antes de llamar a la Junta a orden, me gustaría notar que contamos con servicios de interpretación para esta Junta y la señora Rojo está sentado atrás. I'd like to call this meeting to order for the City Council meeting of June 4th, 2024. Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Councilmember Aguilar Hernandez is on Zoom. Councilmember Aguilar Hernandez, can you hear us?
We can't hear her. I can see her talking.
Hold on.
Can you
Yes.
hear me?
Yes, there we go. Okay, she is present. Councilmember Escobedo?
Here.
Councilmember Cordero?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Soto is absent. And Mayor Patino.
Here. Before we move forward, I would like to acknowledge that the City Council has approved Councilmember Aguilar Hernandez to participate remotely per AB 2449 for the open session of this meeting. City Attorney, Mr. Watson, would you like to give a closed session report?
Yes, Madam Mayor and Council, thank you. We had two items to discuss, item 3A, which was conference with labor negotiators, and item 3B, which related to the city management recruitment. Instructions were provided to the negotiators, and no further report is necessary.
Is that the women's, the veterans, yeah. Okay. First proclamation this evening is Women's Veterans Day, and I will be reading the proclamation. Whereas President Harry S. Truman signed into law the Integration Act on June 12, 1948, enabling women to serve as permanent regular members of the Army, Marine Corps, Navy, and Air Force, women veterans are one of the fastest growing demographics within the United States military and are expected to reach nearly 20% of the veteran population by 2045. And whereas she raised her hand, a collaborative initiative was formed in Santa Barbara County to provide opportunities for women veterans in the Santa Barbara County to find community, purpose, and strength in their identity as veterans. Santa Barbara County is home to women veterans who have served their country with honor and dignity, often in dangerous situations, including service in World War II throughout their current conflicts. And whereas women veterans have been leaders not only in securing their own rights of suffrage and equal opportunity, but also at the forefront of numerous major progressive social change movements in history, paving the way for future generations to enjoy the inalienable rights, duties, and responsibilities afforded equally to all residents of the United States of America. Each woman veteran is extraordinary in her own way, proving that women working inside the home or outside in academia, science, technology, business, labor, governance, and more maintain critical roles in every sphere of society. And whereas Santa Maria is committed to supporting and recognizing the bravery of all women veterans, including those who made the ultimate sacrifice and laid down their lives to protect our state and country. Now, therefore, I, Alice Patino, Mayor of the City of Santa Maria, hereby proclaim June 12, 2024 as Women Veterans Day in the City of Santa Maria and urge all residents and businesses to respect the entire community and build a culture that strives for equity and equality for all people. In witness thereof, I've hereto signed my hand, caused the seal of the City of Santa Maria to be affixed here this 4th day of June, 2024. And who is going to be receiving this tonight?
Kathy Seamus, partner with She Raised Her Hand and Santa Barbara Veterans Collaborative.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Mayor and City Council members, since I am not a veteran, and I only volunteer with veterans organizations, I've asked Andrea Cabanas, on behalf of the women veterans, to accept this and say a few words.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and council members. Thank you for this recognition. While women have served in the American military since before we became a nation, they were not officially recognized as military members or veterans until 1948, as Madam Mayor said. Women were originally relegated to serving in the civilian fields of nursing, laundering, mending, clothing, and cooking. Despite this segregation, many served in war zones alongside their male compatriots, and some even dressed as men during the Civil War and fought on the front lines. Throughout the years, women's roles have continued to grow in all branches and phases of military operations. Today, women make up 20% of the new recruits, 16% of personnel serving on active duty, and 19% of the National Guard and Reserve forces. From American Revolutionary times to the women currently serving in the field, women have proudly served our nation. Yet, many female veterans do not identify themselves as a veteran, do not seek care at the VA, and are often overlooked as veterans in their own community. Through recognizing this day for women veterans, you are following the efforts of states and cities around the country to engage with and advocate for our women veterans. Thank you very much on the behalf of the She Raised Her Hand Committee, and I would invite all of our women veterans to stand if they're in the room. And I would also like to invite
I would like each woman veteran to give their name and the service they served in. I think the people of Santa Maria need to know who you are.
All right, I'll start with myself. My name is Andrea Cabanas. I served from 2006 to 2012 in the United States Army.
Thank you.
My name is Kelly Diaz. I served in the United States Air Force from 11 October 1995 to 31 December 2018.
My name is Rebecca Martinez. I served in the United States Marine Corps from 2005 to 2000.
My name is Siobhan Harris. I served in the United States Army from 1983 to 1989. My name is Marty McGrath. I served in the United States Navy from 63 to 67. My name is Dee Cunningham. I was in the Army. I served from July 78 to January 84, and then went into reserves for a little bit. My name is Terry Richard. I served in the U.S. Air Force, or the WAF, actually, 1969.
I'm Allison Gamboa. I served in the Air Force from 1999 to 20.
Thank you, ladies. Thank you for your service. And I know they're all familiar faces, and you're still serving your country, and you're still serving Santa Maria, and I say thank you.
How do you beat that? That's great.
Next proclamation will be read by Councilmember Cordero.
This proclamation is for the LGBTQ plus community. Whereas the city of Santa Maria has diverse lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, and more LGBTQ plus community, and is committed to supporting visibility, dignity, and equity for all its people. And whereas many of the residents who contribute to the enrichment of Santa Maria are part of the LGBTQ plus community, and whereas significant advancements have been made with respect to equitable treatment of LGBTQ plus persons throughout the nation and around the world, and is important for cities like Santa Maria to stand up and show support for residents of the LGBTQ plus community. And whereas June is recognized as Pride Month in many cities across the United States and has become a symbolic month in which the LGBTQ plus community and its supporters come together in various celebrations of pride and commemorate the Stonewall riots, and the LGBTQ people rose up and fought against discriminatory criminal laws and have since been declared unconstitutional. And whereas in the movement toward equal rights for the LGBTQ community, the city celebrates their resilience and their hard work, or hard-won victories to advance acceptance and equality. Now, therefore, Alice Patino, Mayor for the City of Santa Maria, hereby recognizes the month of June 2024 as LGBTQ plus Pride Month in the City of Santa Maria, and urges the residents and businesses to respect the entire community to build a culture that strives for equity and equality for all. And the mayor has caused her hand to be on this, and the seal of the great city of Santa Maria to be affixed on this 4th day of June 2024. Signed, Alice Patino, Mayor. And here to receive this is Ananis Diaz. I have to get my device here.
Thank you very much. My name is Anais Diaz. I am the Vice President of HOPE, which stands for House of Pride and Equality. I'm here with President and other board members. I just want to say thank you. As a Santa Maria native, I've been born and raised in this area, and I'm just very thrilled to just be on this side of history. So thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Anais.
Mayor Patino, I'd just like to thank you in behalf of House of Pride and Equality. I'd also like to thank our women veterans for being here today. It's an honor to be here with you guys. We're honored to be here along with all of you, and are excited that the city is proclaiming Pride Month. So it is a big deal for us. And again, we would like to invite you to the rest of our celebrations this week. We hope to see you there. It's a big deal that our mayor supports us in this. So thank you.
Thank you. At this time, I would like to move item 11A, presentation of the Central Coast Community Energy Annual Member Agency Update. That was a mouthful. And the CCO, Catherine Stedman, will be making the presentation. Good evening, Ms. Stedman.
Well, thank you so much, Mayor, council members, and staff. I'm Catherine Stedman, the Chief Communications Officer with Central Coast Community Energy. And it is really a pleasure to be here and have the opportunity to present to you this evening. So quickly, I'll go over who 3CE is, because not everybody knows. We're a new government agency. We were formed about 6 years ago when all these cities and counties came together and said, what if we purchased the electricity to serve our region? Could we do it better? As a local public agency, could we be competitive in price, make greater progress on renewables, and provide investment back into our communities? I'm here tonight to show you how we're doing and what benefits are being offered right here in Santa Maria. As our agency has grown, our investment in communities has increased. Our budget for community energy programs in fiscal year 23-24 is $14 million, which are dollars that are available to the city and your constituents to help reduce emissions by electrifying vehicles and buildings. To date, on behalf of all the cities and counties we serve, we've invested $2.8 billion in new renewable energy and energy storage projects, which are making the grid cleaner and helping the environment by reducing the fossil fuel emissions associated with power supply. Some of those projects include new technologies that are pushing the envelope toward 100% clean and renewable power, like a compressed air battery storage project, which will be the largest in the world of its kind. We have power purchase agreements in negotiation or in place to cover 80% of our annual load with renewable energy. The challenge is bringing these projects online in a timely manner due to the current backlog in California around permitting and grid connection and delays in needed transmission upgrades. And yet, so much progress is being made. If you hadn't heard, the amount of renewable energy on the grid has been exceeding customer demand in California on nearly a daily basis this spring, for as many as 9 hours a day. This is a huge accomplishment, and agencies like 3CE are very much a part of the reason why. Not only are the renewable projects we've contracted with contributing to the solution, but they are also achieving cost savings for our customers. And because of a decision by our policy board last year, they are being evaluated based on their commitment to local community engagement, environmental protection, and workforce support. In addition to providing clean power, I also talked about providing direct investment. Some of our recent projects include helping to pay for the very first all-electric transit bus in the city of Guadalupe, for an all-electric school bus for the Orcutt School District, and for the inaugural Clean Air Express bus that serves riders in Santa Maria. All of these projects are reducing emissions and bring serious health impacts. We're helping to clean the air, protect our environment, and build better health outcomes for our communities. Another place we're investing is in agriculture. We provide funding assistance for all-electric farm equipment to replace diesel-powered pumps, tractors, and more. We've helped big and small farms in all the 5 counties we serve. Specifically in Santa Maria, 3CE has invested nearly $1 million through our energy programs. And I really want to emphasize the offers that we have in place specifically for the city itself. As you know, California has strict mandates for electrifying fleets. This is a major undertaking for local governments, and we are here to help. We have funding to help you plan how you're going to make this transition, how many EVs you'll need to purchase, and when your vehicles will charge and where they will charge. And after your plan is complete, we have funding to help pay for the vehicles and charging infrastructure that you'll need. We're finding that fleet managers welcome the assistance. The city is currently taking part in these programs, and we are so glad, and we encourage you to do more. We also offer funding to help cities adopt REACH codes, which go beyond state requirements to drive lower emissions in buildings. We host a quarterly call for staff of the local governments that make up 3CE, where we go over all of these opportunities. And any of you that would like to know more about what we offer, we're happy to set up a meeting. The last thing I'll add is that while I focus tonight on the programs we offer to cities, we also have generous rebates and incentives available to all our customers to help purchase electric vehicles, heat pump water heaters, and HVAC systems. The applications are available on our website, 3cenergy.org. So I hope I have provided a good picture of what our agency is doing to bring clean energy and community investment to the city of Santa Maria. City Manager Alex Posada serves on our operations board, and we have been so fortunate to have Mayor Patino serve on our board of directors for the past 5 years. And I must share that she has represented all of you very well, always serving as a voice of reason and balance. So in closing, on behalf of everyone at 3CE, we thank you for the opportunity to be your local electricity generation provider, to support you and be your partner. Thank you so much for your time this evening, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Stedman. Any questions? None? None. Well, thank you very much for coming all the way down here for the presentation. A lot of people aren't really sure about our electrification, but thank you very much.
Thank you, I
And
appreciate
we'll
it.
see you at the next meeting. Oh, 1 minute. Mr. Escobedo has a question.
Yeah, no, that I was thinking of, you talk a lot about how you guys support the cities, but can you share with us a little bit of, for all the residents that might be watching this, hopefully, watching this presentation, a little bit of some of the benefits or the support that you guys can help them?
Sure. Well, probably our most popular program for customers is Electrify Your Ride. And these are rebates and incentives to purchase an electric vehicle, lease an electric vehicle, purchase a used electric vehicle, and they can range from $2,000 up to $4,000. We also have incentives to install chargers at your home, and if that requires that you upgrade your electric panel, for example, we have rebates and incentives to help cover the cost of doing that. So that's our most popular program, but also for folks that want to electrify their HVAC system or their water heater, we have incentives for that. And I'd also like to share, because there is some confusion, if you are on a customer of PG&E and you are receiving income assistance, like you're on the CARE or FARA program, and you elect to get your generation from 3CE, those programs continue. So those are statewide programs, and all of that financial assistance is available if you're a PG&E only customer or if you're getting your generation from 3CE and delivery from PG&E. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you again for being here.
Of course, thank you.
The next item on the agenda is the public comment period, and I'm waiting for something to come up on the screen.
We have one public comment, Mayor.
Okay. Do we have the car? It's supposed to be on the screen.
Oh, the video.
The
Yes.
video, okay. Okay, this is the car that has been restored. It's a 1960 Biscayne, okay, Chevy, Biscayne. And I asked that it be shown. So every year when the West Coast Custom Car Show comes to town, they will ask me to do a mayor's choice. And after spending about 2 hours walking around, I went back up to the office and I said, it'd be really appropriate if the mayor's choice was a Santa Maria car, our first car to be in the cruise. And so this is it. Can you play it again? But I wanted you to know that the sponsors, no taxpayer money was used on this car. It's absolutely beautiful. And this is Officer Caro and Miraz. This is their baby. I mean, I think they're more excited than probably their firstborn, but they just love this car. Toyota of Santa Maria, Action Light Duty Hauling, Fusion Colors, Apex Auto Glass and Tinting, Calderon Tires, AC Designs, Super Muffler, Local Copies, etc., Auto Center Upholstery, and Extreme Electronics, and they all donated, and the Police Council also donated for this car. So we're really proud of them, and so if you get a chance to see it, and I'm sure when we do anything law enforcement, that the car will be there. Have you ridden it yet, Chief? You have, okay. Well, I was lucky to show up at the right time at the right place, and so we led the cruise that night, on that Friday night, so that was nice. And you can't believe how many people just kept looking at that car. They were really, really excited to see it. Anyway, the next is the public comment period, and we have one person on public comment, Gary Hall. Good evening, Mr. Hall.
Good evening, Madam Mayor. Staff, council members, and citizens of Santa Maria. My name is Gary Hall. I'm a resident of Rancho Buena Vista Mobile Estates at 2135 North Railroad Avenue here in Santa Maria. I represent the North Santa Barbara County Manufactured Homeowners Team, or NSBT. NSBT has a goal that remains to provide protection to all Santa Maria mobile home residents presently living in an unregulated rental market where the current model lease program has been ineffective in protecting homeowner equity and maintaining affordable mobile home housing. I was out of the state during your May City Council meetings, but now I'm back to remind you that over 100 other California jurisdictions have enacted effective rent stabilization ordinances and programs that have provided their mobile home park residents with the protection that we seek. We continue to ask the City of Santa Maria to do the same. On June 6, June 6, 2022, Council members Soto, Escobedo, and Cordero passed a motion that reads, and I'll quote, "to examine the model lease agreement, looking for ways to improve it, and to look at alternatives." Thank you for passing that motion. Now, 2 years later, some progress has been made. However, success still seems very distant. Thanks to Assistant City Manager Wu, we now have a draft outreach plan which we hope can soon be finished and implemented. We continue to believe the outreach goal should be to engage all homeowners in all mobile home parks and make them aware of the existence of the model lease, to inform them and educate them about their lease options, and notify them when where they can continue to receive reliable information. Now, I recognize that budget issues and its passage have taken over center stage. In fact, from the comfort of my home, I watched and listened to last night's 3-hour meeting, and I want to compliment Interim City Manager Posada and others on the city staff for their professionalism in responding to the variety of questions presented to them regarding ongoing financial issues and the preliminary FY 2024-26 proposed budget. Lastly, let me state again, we, the mobile home residents, are committed to continue good faith discussions and efforts to now meet the outreach goal and the overarching NSBT goal I stated earlier. We are ready and willing to work with the city to achieve those goals with or without participation of the park owners. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hall. The next item is the consent calendar. Sorry, does anyone have items they wish to pull for discussion?
No, Madam Mayor.
Do I have anything from Ms. Aguilar Hernandez? Okay.
If not, Madam Mayor, I would like to make a motion that we adopt the consent calendar.
Okay, do I have a second? Second. I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
Madam Mayor, we did have a request to speak for item 12B1.
Madam Clerk, can you read 12B1, please?
Yes, Madam Mayor, the title of 12B1 is Final Approval of the Community Development Block Grant Program's Annual Action Plan for Fiscal Year 2024-25.
Okay, and Mr. Edwin Weaver? Good evening, Mr. Weaver.
Good evening, Madam Mayor. I wanted to thank, well, it's really hot tonight. Wanted to thank you and the City Council very much and all the hard work at the Development Office to fund our latest venture at Fighting Back Santa Maria Valley. That is a transitional age youth navigation center. I really want to commend you for working with the county CDBG board as well to combine those funds to set aside $600,000 for this navigation center. It's really amazing. I also want to thank you for our operational funds that you'll be helping us with out of the program funds as well. And I want to apologize for not being here during the discussion. I was ill and we had a bug going through the office. I couldn't get anybody to cover, but it wasn't meant to be disrespect. We know it's a very hard decision for you all to deliberate these items. And I also wanted to give you an update at Hope Village that you've been supporting emotionally and fiscally. As you know, Fighting Back is in charge of case managing 10 of the residents there who are 18 to 24 years old. And I'm happy to say that 4 of them are doing very well. They have jobs or a internship, and they're on their way of moving out already, even though we've only been open a couple months. They're moving out into permanent housing, and that's the model. Again, is not to stay at Hope Village forever, but to get the services that you need, get a plan, and move on to permanent housing. So we're very excited about that as well. So I wanted to give you an update on Hope Village, but more importantly, I really want to thank you for investing in Fighting Back with the CDBG funds.
Well, thank you, Mr. Weaver, and Fighting Back has really done a lot in our community. But run us through a sort of a scenario of maybe one of the kids and what goes on at Hope Village.
Sure. For those of you of the community who don't know, Hope Village is a transitional housing. So that means it's a shelter, but unlike most shelters where you have to leave every day, people get their own unit. They can come in and lock it, go to work, come back, and their things will still be there. They'll be provided 3 meals a day, as well as a place to go to the bathroom, take a private shower, but also, more importantly, getting services. So they get mental health services, as well as substance abuse counseling, case management, and housing navigation. And so I was going to read one of the updates there from one of my staff members. And she said, Isaiah came to Hope Village. He was living in his car, struggling with mental health and substance abuse. He was a foster youth and had no support. Now he's on the rapid rehousing list. He's received a housing voucher and is on track to move to his own apartment. He has been connected to a paid work training program and is connected with his mental health, stable on his medication, is making leaps and bounds. And so that's just one example. I'm out of time. So that's just one example of the work that we're doing. So,
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Madam Mayor.
Oh,
yeah.
Mr. Cordero.
Before you're out of time, I've been going by there.
Yeah.
And kind of just keeping an eye on it. It was just a field the first time I went by, of course. And when you move a bunch of homeless people in there, I think we just all kind of expect that it's going to get pretty sloppy and messy and ugly. And I was kind of expecting there would be trash all over the place. I've been by 6, 7 times since it's opened. I had not seen anything out in front, where it's still not fully developed out in front of it with plants or anything like that. It's just a dirt lot. But only once out of those times did I see a white cup out in the parking lot. And I went up and did some business. I had to do some business at a business not too far away there, and I came back by, the cup was gone. So I'm only passing that on as a augmentation of what you're saying to show that at least today, it's working. And I was going to get in touch with Steve and Bob and let them know that same thing, but I was so impressed because I was expecting we're going to have to deal with this, the mess. And I don't know who's cleaning it up. I don't know whether they're doing it. I don't know how it's happening.
Yeah, the residents have taken it upon themselves to clean up the neighborhood. So they do a trash sweep a couple times a day, just walking around, picking up, cleaning up.
Well, it's very impressive.
It's their neighborhood, so they want to till it.
It's very impressive when you look at where they're coming, some of them are coming from in the riverbed and things like that, how you guys have done that, and I think it's commendable. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilmember.
Madam Mayor.
Yes, Mr. Cordero, Mr. Escobedo.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mr. Weaver, I've seen what you guys have been doing for many years, and in and out, on the streets and also inside the schools, and your staff they just do a great job. And this project, when it came up, I did talk with many of my constituents and like, what do you guys think about it? And we've had a lot of conversations, and something I appreciate about you is that your willingness to be up there and speak and share and educate the community. So when I hear about it, I feel like, okay, let's give it a chance. And it seems I do share the. I think it's looked good. So and I'm pretty sure that you guys are gonna keep it that way. So there's and just the word of hope. That's a hope to address an issue that is just nationwide. So thank you for what you guys do.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Weaver. Okay, we back to our consent items. I have a motion and a second, and no further discussion. Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Councilmember Escobedo?
Aye.
Councilmember Cordero?
Aye.
Councilmember Aguilar Hernandez?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Soto is absent. And Mayor Patino?
Aye. The next item on the agenda is a public comment, is public hearing item. The Landscape Maintenance District will be made by Interim Director of Recreation and Parks, Angela Osland.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and members of the City Council. Today I'm going to be providing a brief overview of the Landscape Maintenance Districts, the Landscape Maintenance District Assessment, and the engineer's reports with staff recommendations to adopt the resolution for each district and set new assessment rates for the coming cycle. Engineers' reports are prepared annually and presented to City Council in advance of the public hearing and were brought to you on May 21st. The hearing notice was posted in accordance with the Landscape and Lighting Act of 1972. So a brief overview, the City of Santa Maria has established 4 landscape maintenance districts with a number of special benefit zones included in those districts in accordance with, again, the Landscape and Lighting Act and the Streets and Highway Code. The engineer's reports are prepared annually detailing adjustments to accessible lands within each district. At that previous City Council meeting on the 21st, City Council approved those resolutions to accept the reports on a preliminary basis and scheduled today's hearing with the consideration of the intent to levy. The engineer's reports include an annual consumer price index adjustment of 3.5% over previous year's assessment to maintain pace with the rise of industry costs. Very briefly, just for a pictorial, this is a map overview of the Northeast and Northwest District coverage areas that we talked about. And this is a pictorial of the Southeast and Southwest District coverage areas. And this map in total is included in the engineer's report. So there are 4 assessment districts. I'll just quickly go over them. The assessment district number 9 is known as the Northwest Landscape Districts. It was formed in December 20th, 1988, and includes Cherry Blossom and North Prescott Ranch Special Benefit Zone. There are a lot of them. District 10 is known as the Northeast Landscape Maintenance District, and it was formed on May 20th, 1989. This district includes Sway and Donovan Special Benefit Zones, Rivergate Romer Special Benefit Zone, Donovan Estate Special Benefit Zone, La Ventana Special Benefit Zone. And District 6 is Southeast South Miller Street and College Drive Landscape Maintenance District. It was formed on August 4th, 1981. Crossroads Commercial Special Benefit Zone, Crossroads Residential Special Benefit Zone, Bradley Square Special Benefit Zone, Enos Ranch Commercial Special Benefit Zone, and Enos Ranch Residential Special Benefit Zones are included. And then number 11 is the Southwest Landscape Maintenance District, which includes Westgate Ranch, Cherrywood, Quayway, Rose Garden Village, Stoll Center Plaza, Aquistapache, Village at Westgate Ranch, and the C4 Development Special Benefit Zones. So the reason that I mentioned those very quickly is I know that it's a lot of information in kind of a short period of time, but there is additional information in the engineer's reports for the public and their review. So staff's recommendation today is the adoption of 4 resolutions, one for each district. And those are listed up here. It's adopting a resolution confirming the diagram and assessment rates for each of these zones as shown for the fiscal year 24-25. And I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Are there any questions from the council? Ms. Aguilar Hernandez?
No, I met with Angela and we discussed in detail, and I also reviewed the report.
I'd like to open a public hearing at this time. Madam Clerk, do we have any requests to speak or written correspondence?
We do not, Madam Mayor.
So I'll close the public hearing. Any further council discussion?
Not for me.
Hearing none, do I have a motion?
So moved.
And a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Councilmember Cordero?
Aye.
Councilmember Escobedo?
Aye.
Councilmember Aguilar Hernandez?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Soto is absent, and Mayor Patino?
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. Thank you very much, Ms. Osland. The next item is the user fee schedule for 2024, and the presentation will be made by Interim Finance Director Xenia Bradford.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. The item in front of you is adoption of a resolution approving the user fee schedule for 2024. This is the first public hearing for the adoption of the updated fee schedule. The second hearing would be on June 18th, which is when you would actually take action to adopt the resolution, and the fees are proposed to be amended effective July 1st. The City of Santa Maria had conducted a comprehensive fee study a year ago, and a year ago the council saw the same subset of fees updated and raised the fees to about 75% at that time to provide with stair-step process of achieving 100% recovery. This year, we have worked with the same consultant who is available today by Zoom if there's any specific questions. And the same set of fees was updated based on the current financials of the 23-24. And the fees in front of you represent 100% recovery for the subset of fees that's been studied. There are certain fees that are not included in the study, which are library non-facility rentals, building plan check and inspection fees, police department services for special public events, and recreation and parks facility and program fees. So those are not included in the study. The ones included in the study are planning fees, some of the building fees, public works, code enforcement, fire, police, solid waste, water and wastewater, finance, city clerks, and special projects. The summary of the increases holding all levels of activity is provided on page 3 of the report. So if we held all of the same levels of activity, we would be anticipating about an additional $1 million, which has already been included in the projections for your next budget. The attachment 8 represents or shows all the detailed information for the fees that have been updated. And then the last attachment to the resolution is the entire fee schedule, which was posted 10 days in advance of this hearing for public review. So we're asking you to hold the public hearing tonight.
Are there any questions from the council? Yes, Ms. Escobedo?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And this might be a question more for City Attorney. There's an item, appeal to City Council fee. It goes up to from $10,375 to $13,820. My question would be, in terms of, is there any legal, there can be any legal challenge in regards to that increase? Because it's it's a bit, is there any limit or, any potential legal consequence of that?
Again, the fees are set by the amount of staff work provided. Whenever you do an appeal, the council has discretion to, if an appeal is found in favor of the appellant, to reduce or eliminate the fee or return the fee to them. That's well within the discretion of the council on an appeal basis. But the fees are set up based on the cost and staff time required to perform all of the tasks to get an appeal to council.
Yeah, and I ask this because I think it's important for constituents to be able to appeal to to anybody, to appeal if they do not agree with an outcome of any project. So I just want to make sure that we don't put ourselves in. I mean, that what it's being put here is actually what we pay for in terms of time and labor.
My understanding is that is the consultant's determination. It is one of the things that my office is constantly reviewing as to the appropriate level of appeal, that some should be appealed to a city manager rather than the city council to eliminate some of these excessive fees that a constituent might have, particularly for a small item that might arise out of community development or something along those lines. So we're continually looking for other opportunities to not have appeals have to come to council.
Definitely. Okay, thank you.
I have one question here on solid waste, S195. It says solid waste tub out service.
95.
Is there a specific question on that?
Well, so under current revenues, $3,456, and full cost additional revenue, $1,800. Yes, Mr. Pardon?
Sorry, I can't.
You can't hear me?
Oh, it's off.
It's off, your microphone.
Oh, it's weird.
No, it's
because-
on.
It's on? Oh.
Well,
It
the
is
red
on.
button down
The
here.
lights-
Yeah, it's off
The
at the
lights
one
don't
end.
always go on together, but it is on.
Oh, there we go.
Maybe it's not the microphone, it's...
I would like to see if our consultant is available online to answer this question. Mr. Tai?
Yes, hi. I should be unmuted now.
Yes, we can hear you.
I believe that fee, is it the one that increases up to $200 per month? Because it's the tub out, it should be, the fee should actually say that cost is to be divided by the 12 months. Beyond that, the fee itself is consistent with all the other fees in terms of increase or decrease.
I'm not getting that. I don't understand the answer. I mean, so that 1,800, so is there a fee added then to the solid waste on your bill?
Can you tell me the exact fee number again?
Okay, S195. It's a solid waste tub out service.
Yes, ma'am. Okay. So that fee is the $1,000 is the total cost of all the tub out requests. So there are 18 approximately 18 residents or participants that request that. And the annual cost for that service is approximately $222. And the prior cost is $192. So it's increasing from $192 to $222. So the fee increase is approximately 15%. Multiply that by the 18 residents, and that's why it's increasing by that dollar amount.
So is that added to their water bill, wastewater? Oh, Mr. Springer?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. On the table that you have before you, I don't have it in front of me, but it looks like the rate is going from $16 a month to roughly $220, I believe is the question you're asking. When the table was put together, what the consultant is indicating is that number needs to be divided by 18, so that rate should instead say 16. It should go from $16 to $18. So
Okay.
what he's talking about is dividing.
When it says tub out service,
Yes.
they are replacing a
No.
tub? Oh, no.
Sorry.
Okay.
So the tub out service that we provide is if there are individuals in the community that are unable to roll the tubs or the carts out to the curb line, the city does provide that service and we do charge for it. So this would be a monthly charge to a customer to go get their cart behind their fence, roll it out, service it, and then roll it back.
Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Any other questions? None? Okay. I'd like to open up the public hearing at this time. Madam Clerk, do we have any requests to speak or written correspondence?
We do have one request to speak.
Okay. And Lori Tamura?
Good evening, Lori Tamura with Urban Planning Concepts, and appreciate the presentation that staff made in regards to the fees. It's important to recognize that we had this discussion a year and a half ago in regards to raising fees. It was quite substantial at that time with the idea of going with 100% cost recovery. At that recommendation, staff did go back and came back with a proposal for 75%. It's about the number that they landed on. Now it's going to the full board, 100% cost recovery. The city council's direction at that time was to incrementally increase the fees, to take the jump from 75 to 100% now, again, is a big jump, 25%. And so the question is this the appropriate thing to do at this time? Realizing that probably only about 20 of those items that are listed on your fee schedule are directly related to the big developers. Almost all of the fees are tied to small home projects, small construction projects. It's your general public that is going to be paying these fees, and we'll be paying 100% based on the proposal. So I think it's something to reflect on. And is this the appropriate time to take that 25% leap on the fees to 100% cost recovery? I would suggest not, but that's something for your consideration. And it's not that much, but it is something that affects the general public when they come in for that 1 or 2 permits that they're doing over their time. So hope that you'll consider and give staff direction as to how best to move forward with this fee schedule. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to close the public hearing. Further discussion from council?
I don't have anything else, Madam Mayor. I'd probably get myself in trouble if I said anything else.
Okay. Do I have a motion? Do I have a second? Ms. Aguilera, any comments from you?
She's shaking her head
She's shaking
no. She
her head
can't hear
no.
you.
Oh,
She's saying no. She doesn't have any comments.
no comments. Okay.
If there are no comments, I
Okay.
would like to make a motion. Then we adopt the resolution approving the user fee schedule for 2024. So this means that we will move to the 100% recovery. Okay, yeah, I do make that motion.
Is there any reason we don't have it on the screen?
Well, I
Well,
can
the
read it.
resolution.
I can read it from here.
Okay, go ahead.
Yep. Make the the motion of adoption of resolution approving the user fee schedule for 2024. Approving the addition and update of a citywide user fees, identifying the annual user fee update and user fee schedule 2024.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
The next meeting.
I have a motion and a second. Further discussion? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, can you call the roll?
Councilmember Escobedo?
Aye.
Councilmember Cordero?
Aye.
Councilmember Aguilera Hernandez?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Soto is absent, and Mayor Patino.
Aye. Moving on, to, the
Madam
next
Mayor.
item is a regular business item for the.
Madam Mayor, sorry if I could interrupt. So
yes.
you're moving this item to the 18th meeting for its second presentation. So it'll be coming back to you on the 18th, just so
Okay.
everybody's clear on that.
Okay, it'll be coming back on the 18th. Right, June 18th.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. The next item is a regular business item for the Urban Forest Management Plan by Interim Director of Recreation and Parks, Angela Oslin.
This is a presentation for the 2024 Citywide Parks Assessment. I'm sorry, Urban Forest Management Plan. Let me get the right one out. Before you today is a presentation of this management plan report. As you know, we have many beautiful trees within the city of Santa Maria. We maintain a GIS catalog of over 26,000 trees. It's quite a lot within the city of Santa Maria. The department recognized the need to develop a more formal tool and brought on Dudek Consultants with the support of a CAL FIRE grant. This item is coming to you after consideration from the Recreation and Parks Commission and the Tree Committee work that they have done. The Urban Forest Management Plan document was brought to the Commission in draft on September 12th, 2023 public meeting, into a workshop on November 1st, and then came back to Commission for adoption on November 14th, 2023. The city is responsible for directly and maintaining a number of these 26,000 trees and provides technical review and development permit application review support on others. In order to improve city services with respect to our urban forest, the identified areas of focus include what you see here: conducting a comprehensive analysis of the urban forest, evaluating opportunities for improving the urban forest, analyzing the cost to operate and maintain the urban forest, and developing a tool, which is the Urban Forest Management Plan, to operate and maintain our urban forest. The scope of the plan development includes evaluating the health and condition of the existing urban forest within the city of Santa Maria, evaluating operation and maintenance costs associated with caring for such a large urban forest, evaluating best management practices in alignment with industry standard practices, and identifying next steps to implement a comprehensive plan. I'd like to introduce Ryan Allen from Dudek, and he is going to present the findings of the report, and then I will present staff recommendations.
That's a little bit better. I work with Dudek. We're an environmental consulting firm, and I've been doing urban and community forestry work for 16 years now. I lead our urban forest planning team, and glad to present to you all tonight. It's just a brief overview of what we'll be looking at. Mainly, we'll be looking at some of the key findings and data and analysis that went into developing the urban forest management plan. The UFMP, as we like to say for shorthand, was funded with a grant through the California Department of Forestry and Fire Protection, CAL FIRE, through their Prop 68 grant program. It was a $150,000 grant that the city received that helped to fund development of the UFMP as well as planting 750 trees throughout the community. So what is a UFMP and what went into developing it? A UFMP ultimately is a framework. It provides guidance for the city to make informed decisions about its urban forest over the planning horizon, which for this project is the next 40 years. Provides a strategic plan, prioritizes those actions, and gives you a framework of how to monitor your progress over the long term. And importantly, it's an adaptive document. We understand that the conditions the city faces now, whether environmental, budgetary, or otherwise, may change unexpectedly over the next few years. And so this document is intended to be reviewed on a periodic basis to make sure the priorities that are currently listed are the priorities that still exist for the city moving forward. What that by developing this UFMP framework looked like, we looked at the inventory and the canopy cover, which is the amount of city that's covered by the leaves and branches of trees when viewed from above. We looked at your existing plans that relate to trees, your ordinances and policies. We worked within the community to get input and feedback, developed that into a draft for public comment, worked with the commissions, and then are here presenting this final UFMP. The vision of the Santa Maria's urban forest is a valued city asset that provides a resilient, diverse tree canopy that contributes to long-term environmental benefits, enhanced neighborhood character, appealing business corridors, and healthy and equitable communities that are connected to nature. And just to note that this vision statement is something that was developed with a lot of staff input, as well as the working group members played a key role in helping to develop this. So some of the engagement work that we did a lot of effort into getting as much feedback as possible through our public survey. We were able to get 246 responses, and a big component of our engagement was the working group. It consisted of city staff members, the members of the Urban Forest Advisory Committee, as well as other community members that represent different professions and interests within the city. We held 5 working group meetings throughout the project, and they really were key in providing insights of the values and priorities of community members within Santa Maria to help develop that vision statement, like I said, as well as the guiding principles and reviewing our work along the way. Canopy cover. So the city has about 5.5% canopy cover, which is a relatively low number. So there's a little bit of work to do to provide more shade in the environmental services and benefits that trees provide. We estimate that it will take planting approximately 1,000 trees a year to achieve a 20% canopy cover goal within 40 years. And this was a goal that was discussed and determined by city staff to be what they wanted to try and achieve. And it certainly is a progressive goal and would provide maximum benefit to the community. To give you an idea of what that looks like, we have Buena Vista Park on one side, Pioneer Park on the other, representing 5.6 and 22.2% canopy cover respectively. So just to try and give you a little visual perspective of what that increase would look like within a given space. There are 26,465 trees managed by the city, which is quite a good number for the city the size of Santa Maria. Some of the environmental services and benefits that are being provided by the trees within the carbon storage and avoided runoff. The structural cost, so I'd like to highlight it in the middle section there, needs a little explanation. So what that value means is that 99, almost $100 million is the cost if you had to replace every single tree in your inventory with the same exact species and size and conditions that they currently are. It would cost the city $100 million. So that's kind of what we consider its asset value. Within our canopy cover study, we also combined that with census tract data like the Cal Virus Screen 4.0 scores to help understand where trees are lacking in the city, but also where they should be prioritized to help ensure communities that are most vulnerable to climate change and other environmental hazards receive the resources of the city as a first priority. And so that's what you see with that priority planting analysis map on the right. Yeah, you're right. And there is approximately 9,100 existing vacant sites identified within the city tree inventory. So there is a lot of room to plant more trees within existing city managed spaces, but there certainly will need to be a lot of work done with private property owners, whether that's residential or commercial, to make sure that we can increase trees on those locations as well. We did a lot of work.
Excuse me 1 minute.
Yes.
Can you go back to that slide?
Sure. Oh, there we go.
To the
Sorry,
map.
wrong way. Yep.
Okay. I can see where Broadway is. So what is the arterial on the north part of the green, the dark green?
I would not know that.
This, right there. Stoll? Okay. Okay, thank you.
Okay. We did a lot of work looking at developing a list of recommended tree species that one would be low water use, drought tolerant species that would be adapted for future climates, because we want to make sure that the trees we're planting now are going to be suited for climate over the next 50, 100 years. We've provided recommendations on spacing to make sure small trees go into small places, and when we can maximize that space, that large trees can be planted in those locations. We did our best to include local and regionally native species that are appropriate for an urban environment. And we wanted to recognize that we need to have a diversity of species. We can't have monoculture streets or monoculture tree plantings. If an invasive pest or disease comes along that impacts one species, if a chunk of your trees are that species, you run the risk of losing a lot of your canopy. So looked at diversity as a means for resiliency within the city inventory. So just an overview of what the structure of the city management looks like. It uses a combination of city staff and contractors to complete its work. When we look at that on a scale of staff in relation to population, people population, as well as tree population, we can see if we go down to the Hauer and Peterson line, which is the second from the bottom, that was a study that was conducted and develop national averages. So we can see in some ways, comparing it on a national scale, staffing can be low, but there's also a mix of contractors within the city that do work, so it's not quite an apples to apples comparison because every program is a little different, but it does, I think, reflect that there is likely a need for more staffing within the city. This is looking at the budget over the last 3 years and noticing that there has been some incremental increases within the budget, which is great for the tree management. And comparing the current budget to national averages, again, it's relatively on par with national averages as well as Western states. But again, these aren't always apples to apples comparisons because programs can be a little different, have different structures, work that's being completed, and things like that. Another really important aspect of...
Excuse me 1 minute.
Yes,
Mr.
please.
Escobedo has a question.
Go back?
Can you go back? Yes, please.
Yeah.
So that, okay, sorry, I didn't, I was gonna ask you if it's annual annual budget per tree. So
Yeah,
it's,
that's the $37 is annually what's spent per tree.
okay.
And like I said, that
Depends
is-
on the tree. And
Excuse me?
does that depend on the tree?
No,
Or
that
it's-
isn't. That is just taking total trees in the city inventory and the amount of budget that's being spent to get that average, or as a number that's used as a comparison.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Another really important aspect of increasing canopy cover is making sure you don't lose the canopy cover you currently have. And so while this management plan does not enact any ordinances or codes, it provides guidance and recommendations on steps that could be taken to improve the municipal code, to increase protection for trees, both on public and private property, and provide some guidance on things like a tree replacement ratio update. So if a tree is needing to be removed for a project, that canopy cover is replaced on a shorter time frame and more equitably to the tree, the size of the tree that is being removed. One thing that was important in working with city staff from the beginning of this was making sure that there's consistency and knowledge of what the actual physical practices of how the city of Santa Maria does tree work. And so we developed a field guide that contains all the basics of tree management, from tree planting, watering and establishment care, pruning, some more in-depth actions like root pruning. So anyone from now moving forward can pick that up and understand exactly how the city is doing its physical tree work, and it's laid out in a really nice, easy to understand visual graphics. And those standards, like it says, based off the International Society of Arboriculture, American National Standards Institute, which are the main bodies that develop standards for trees in arboriculture. Our strategic plan contains 8 guiding principles which reflect some of the values and priorities of the city that are kind of further broken down within the vision statement. Each of those guiding principles has related specific actions to them, which are those steps to help guide the city moving forward in improving its urban forest management. That strategic plan is then broken down into prioritized actions. So we have some of the action items that are immediate, things to be done within the first year, short-term actions within the next 1 to 5, medium 5 to 10, and long 10 plus. So we can have some prioritization of the things that are most urgent and needing to get accomplished within improving the urban forest program. And then finally, some of the things that we're looking at or identifying as priorities for the city to consider. One, resources. We recognize that every city has conflicting priorities and many needs that it needs to address, but there will be a need to identify additional resources to implement some aspects of the UFMP. Public engagement is extremely key to any city program, and trees are no different. As the plan states and recognizes, there is a need for an engaged community to understand how to properly maintain trees and private property owners to maintain trees, but also if they are going to be engaged to plant and grow trees on their own property, then they need to be informed about what that looks like, how it's a value to them, and ways that they can participate in that. And then finally, updating the ordinance, the tree protection ordinance, so that we are preserving canopy cover and recovering canopy cover on a shorter time frame when it needs to be removed for development as appropriate. And that is everything I have for me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there questions from the council?
Yeah.
Yes, Mr. Cordero?
You were talking about discussing with our personnel and preserving the canopy cover, and then you mentioned a rather large number of trees that needed to be planted. And then I heard you say that they would reach maturity in 40 years or 4 years?
No, so the plan states planting, that there would be a need to plant 1,000 trees a year for 40 years, so about 40,000 trees added. Each tree would be reaching maturity at a different time frame within that. So over the time, it would take that 40-year period for the trees planted at year 1 and the trees planted towards the end of that to reach a stature that achieves the canopy cover goal. The projection is essentially if you took 40,000 trees right now of certain sizes and put them in the city, you would go from 5% to 20%.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Mr. Escobedo?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. In regards to the ordinance, can you explain, how you guys explain a little bit of what does that entail?
Yeah, I can take that on. So the Urban Forest Management Plan document is the first step, and DUDEC has evaluated which one of our ordinances, right, each of those, could be reviewed against the goals of the Urban Forest Management Plan. So the next step would be doing a formal side-by-side analysis and bringing those back to you for consideration.
Okay. And so I believe they're also part of, well, this is not a question about the trees, it's about the document, about the needs of the different parks. I don't know if I mixed up two items or they're part of the same, because I have a question about the analysis that was created.
Sure, Councilor Escobedo. The Urban Forest Management Plan is a subset of the overall parks operations and landscape district operations and maintenance. So what we're talking about right now is just a little component of the overall.
Okay.
The costs that Mr. Allen is talking about, those are rolled into our operations and maintenance costs. And so those are, tied to our revenue sources and grant funding perhaps for tree planting and so on.
Okay, and I asked that because, so I have some comments about, I went through all the different parks and the needs and the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rates that were put in. I understand, there's one particularly park, the Roslyn Perlman Park, and that looks like 5, 5, 5. But on the other hand, it was brought up to us like a year and a half ago, and we were gonna dedicate some money to fix it, but because that park will be redone for future growth or development in that area. I think my point is just to be mindful when we start. I personally do not agree on some of those categories. I'm not an expert, I know, but I think there are some parks that are more used that I think it would be better to allocate the money towards the ones that are more used than the ones that people do not visit. So just keep that in mind. And on the other side, on the tree side, since I got into council, I never thought I was, and Scott, we've had a lot of conversations about all these phone calls that we receive from community members about issues with trees, sidewalks, and something that is so important that is tree has become also, has another consequences. And I know that way back, the kind of trees that were planted were not the appropriate trees. So, now you have to deal with taking care of those trees, but at the same time taking care of the sidewalks, and then it's a huge. I think that it was just a decision that was not prevented before, and now we're dealing with that. So hopefully we can find some ways to make that process a little bit easier for, so we don't keep putting a patch on an issue, and every time we send somebody to fix a sidewalk, that's time that we're taking away from other things. So how we can balance where we plant those, well, potentially 40,000 trees. I mean, that's just a huge number. So just be mindful of how we're gonna do it, where we're gonna do it, what kind of trees, so the future councils will not have to do, or the residents will not have to deal with something that is good becomes a huge issue. So thank you guys, and just basically comments more than questions. So thank you.
Ms. Aguilera Hernandez, did you want to make any comments?
I was surprised by the state of our trees, and I do get a lot of calls about trees, and the main question is, does this tree belong to me or does it belong to the city? Can I cut the tree or do I have to call the city? And it depends. That is always my answer. And I think this is going to help. I think this is really going to help us to plan better. I think the city was trying to do the best it could, right? We just want trees everywhere. I made a comment on yesterday, I think it was, when I was standing next to a tree and I didn't want to stand next, in the sun. Trees are important. They lower the temperature and they clean the environment. They provide shade, more importantly. For that reason, I was really disappointed that we are in this situation. So we do need to invest in this management plan. Thank you.
Thank you. I have one request to speak. That's it? Okay. Lori Tamura.
Good evening, Lori Tamura with Urban Planning Concepts. And this plan jumped out at me because just recently I've been meeting with the Community Development Department in regards to the objective design standards, which are required by state law for residential developments. And there's a chapter on trees. So wanted to make sure that when I have another document that's talking about trees, that the two are consistent. And right now they're not. And that's a big problem, because you have a document that's saying certain things about setbacks and design and where trees are located in subdivisions, and you have staff working in another department on the standards, and they're not jiving. So my recommendation would be that you adopt number 2, which is not saying that there's anything bad with this. It just needs to be coordinated with the other departments and what's happening based on other state laws. And give staff and the design community time to digest what's being proposed here versus what's being proposed in the objective design standards provisions. So the other comments that I'd like to make in regards to this is that I believe on slide 7, I don't know if you can, or slide 11, I don't know if you can pull up Ryan's presentation, but I think the numbers are a little skewed. That's the exhibit that shows all the trees in the city, and a percentage of only 5-point-something%. But almost 3,000 acres within the city boundary is in agriculture, and Winsett Farms and Mahoney Ranch Airport District. So if you use that number and you count your trees and you divide, I believe you have probably 8 to 10% tree coverage, if not even more than that, if you just talk about the urbanized area of the city. And I think that's a more credible number than including all of the acreage of the city and averaging the trees across there. Also note that the trees that are counted here are only the trees that the city manages. It's not the trees throughout the city. There are quite a few more trees that aren't in this report that are being maintained by homeowners associations, being maintained by the commercial districts, and a number of other areas. And I think that needs to be acknowledged in here because it is a condition of approval for these projects. I was surprised to see the comparison of the park, one of the parks, and then Pioneer Park. because you have a tension here between soccer fields and play fields and just planting a whole bunch of trees on the parks. And so the proposal there may be a little bit different. Lastly, a big part of design development right now is solar panels. So having trees is great, but if you have trees that block the sun, you can't get the energy that you need. That is also required by the state and the building code. So we need to just make sure before this gets any further along that we're meeting state law in other silos of development in this community. So please adopt number 2 or recommendation 2. Send it back and let's do a little bit of coordination with some of the other things that are happening in the city that are also being recommended for approval.
Thank you. Yeah, I was looking at, for instance, Buena Vista Park, because that's in a heavy, it's a very dense population in that area, and that is used by adults and kids because of the open space and they can play soccer there. I think we have removed, what, 2 or 3 trees out of there that were diseased. That's why there aren't as many trees there. But that's the way it's used. Pioneer Park is a little different at its use. And as Lori was saying, I'm on the housing committee for the state. And when they're saying you can build ADUs like 4 feet away from the lot line, there's not a lot of room for trees. They are taking out trees and replacing them with ADUs or housing. So a lot of what is proposed is in conflict with what's coming down from the state also. So it's really, I would agree. I would like to see, I don't know, when we look at the alternative is to postpone the receipt pending further review, because I think once people have seen this at home and I think are going to be really eager to comment about trees. If a tree comes down in the city, I don't care where it is, I know 2 people that are going to call me within that hour. Mm-hmm. The tree has come down and they want to know why. So I think that trees are important to us in our community. We love to go places where you see the canopy just covering the street practically, and it's beautiful. And I don't think we want to lose sight of that, because it used to be people would just cut down trees, and they still do. But so can we go with that, or do we have to do 1 or 2 on the recommendation?
Madam Mayor, I would say you can do either. It's at the council's pleasure whether or not you want to receive it and file. Ultimately, what we're asking for in item number 3 is to provide staff with the recommendation to be able to move forward to do some more investigating, as you're talking about. Again, it's evaluating side-by-side ordinances, working with community development, working with public works, all of that in a joint effort. So we wouldn't anticipate bringing you something back shortly, right? This is definitely
we'd like to have more input from stakeholders. I think once they've seen this presentation, because it's a very nice presentation, I think people are going to be commenting on that because it was really good. So what would the...
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
Because it will also take coordination from my office to do the development and review, perhaps what we could do is get a consensus from council that we should coordinate among our staff and stakeholders and bring something back to your attention in a more concrete format sometime in the fall.
Okay. Does that sound good? Okay. Does that sound okay?
Yeah.
Ms. Aguilera Hernandez?
Yes. Is somebody going to make a motion, or was that Tom's motion?
No, we can just do a consensus and then they'll bring something back in the fall.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. And thank you for the presentation. Thank you, Angela.
You're welcome.
Okay, the next item will be a report by interim city manager.
We have a landscape.
We still have
Hey, I was going to wrap up the meeting, yeah.
14B.
Okay, 14B. Oh, Santa Maria City-wide Parks Assessment.
So this is the Parks Assessment portion.
The big one, okay.
This is the big one of the little one.
Thank you, Ms. Oslin.
You're welcome. So this is a presentation of the 2024 Citywide Parks Assessment Report. And this report really is a condition inspection, if you will, that describes the relative condition of our parks infrastructure, and parks-related amenities. Earlier, I presented the landscape maintenance districts to you in the hearing, which you heard about. This is separate from the park system, the bulk of which Wallace will review. However, at the end of the presentation, Wallace Group will touch on considering landscape maintenance districts for inclusion into the overall discussion, evaluating possible funding alternatives. That's a mouthful. As you know, we have many beautiful parks in addition to our beautiful trees within the city of Santa Maria. And as a means of operating and maintaining these parks, the department periodically undertakes a review of this system in its entirety. The objective of this recent parks assessment was to conduct a comprehensive analysis of the infrastructure, including the condition of our parks, and analyze the cost to maintain, renovate, and replace city parks and recreational facilities citywide. In evaluating our parks infrastructure, other than the community center buildings and the Paul Nelson Pool, the project included identifying existing parks and those planned over the next 5 years, providing a breakdown of operational costs per park, including labor, utilities, supplies, and equipment, and conducting condition facility assessments to determine asset lifespan, recommending retrofits or reconstruction for extended usefulness, evaluating financial implications of the report, and that's it. That's a lot. So with that, what I'll do is go ahead and turn it over to DTA and Wallace Group. They performed the detail assessment and developed the report to be used, again, as a planning tool for the future for our parks operations, maintenance, and capital infrastructure improvements. This is Carrie Wagner and Matt Wilkins.
Good evening. My name is Carrie Wagner, Madam Mayor, members of the council, staff, and members of the community. My name is Carrie Wagner. I am with Wallace Group, a principal with Wallace Group. Here with me tonight is Matt Wilkins. He is our Director of Landscape Architecture at Wallace Group. And online is Nehal Thumar with DTA. And he'll be available to answer questions on the financial side of things. So, as Angela mentioned, there was a mouthful of information that we pursued in this project. So just a little bit of a recap on the scope was our team, Wallace Group, with assistance from an electrical engineer and a structural engineer, we visited 28 parks throughout the city of Santa Maria. And we assessed the condition, the physical nature of the park from the landscape architecture, the structural integrity of the parking lots, the sidewalks, the playground equipment, etc. Everything that was encompassed within each park. And we reviewed and developed park costs, a list of all of your assets, the costs, and an operations and maintenance evaluation. We also looked at your current assessment districts that were presented by Angela earlier today, and I'll have more information on that as well. So just an overview, you received a very large document that was consolidated into a description about every single park in your community. And it was this is just an example of one of the cover pages that was presented within the park for North Presker Ranch. It includes a overall picture of the site and then identified each of the amenities that were evaluated within each of the parks. From there, our staff went out and visited every single park and spent hours evaluating the condition, and we ranked each of these facilities on a 1 through 5 basis. 1 being in good condition, no attention really needed, but identifying the facility there, all the way up to a 5, meaning that it really needs attention, it needs to be replaced, it needs to be upgraded of some sort. From there, we took and developed a capital improvement program. And developed a cost program for this capital improvement project or program for only our 4s and 5 rankings. Those were the most dire improvements that were needed for each of the parks and are the improvements that are going to be needed over the next 10 years. We didn't develop costs for priorities or rankings 1, 2, and 3, as those are going to change over the years, and we pretty much assumed that the city wouldn't be addressing those at this time. And so in 10 years, when those 3s may then become ranking of 5s, we would develop costs at that time. Our capital improvement project or program includes our soft costs, which is going to be your administrative costs, your engineering costs. Some things are going to require some engineering. Some of it is just going to be operations and maintenance that your staff can take care of. In the capital improvement program, we developed it for the rankings in 4 and 5s. It was $72 million that was identified in capital improvement projects for each of your parks, or for a consolidation of all your parks. If we were to fund that program over 7 years, that will be $10.4 million required to spend on your parks to just hit the 4 and 5 rankings. That would include a CIP. That $10.4 million would need to include a CPI increase on an annual basis. After 7 years, funding would continue to capture the future CIPs as an ongoing CIP program. We would recommend that you do a condition assessment on the parks every 5 to 7 years to understand the deterioration of the various park components and develop a new capital improvement program over the years. $10.4 million is a lot of money to spend on the parks. You have a lot of parks though. But there are other ways to adjust rates for how we spend that money. We can either expedite or slow down that spending of the $72 million. So we could spend $8 million, or you can spend $15 million. And that is going to then adjust the rates that your community is going to see. There's also options that you can pursue bonding. If you want to tackle all $72 million in the next 2 years, you can bond for that and spread that cost over a 30-year period. So there's financial things that we can look at if the council so chooses. So the capital improvement program was one element of our analysis. The second analysis was on the operations and maintenance. Currently, we looked at the labor that the city puts into it, the equipment, the utility costs, all the materials that the city spends on an annual basis to maintain your park facilities. We then evaluated the operations and maintenance budget against industry standards, and we provided some recommendations. We also looked at future costs based on some gap analysis and future park expansions and what that is going to do to your overall budget. It's a little bit hard to read. There's a lot of text on here. I apologize for that. In the operations and maintenance segment of our report, we estimated the future or the anticipated funding based on 4 levels of service. This level of service was compared to or derived based on the national survey data provided by the National Recreation and Parks Association, which surveys various other communities and cities. So a top-tier performing community, or 100% LOS, is based on the highest level of service noted by other communities. So this is a national service that looks and goes out to all the communities and says, how much community X are you spending on a per acre basis to maintain your parks? And that max number is what we would consider the 100% LOS. So we wanted to compare your existing services to what are various tiers of potential operations and maintenance costs that the city could invest in for maintaining your parks on an annual basis, on a per acre basis. So a top tier LOS is going to spend for the city of Santa Maria is going to be about $12 million or $93,000 per acre. Subsequently down 85%, we just took them on 15% increments. There can be, the council can choose to set any level of increment that the council wishes. Currently, your city budget is about $61,000 per acre or a level of service of 65%. So as comparison purposes, that's where you're sitting right now. Please note that these numbers right here do not include those 4 assessment districts that were discussed earlier today. Those are funded through an assessment district that is not funded through your current O&M budget for your parks. Only in the other caveat that we want to include is that this is only includes the parks that are currently online right now. It does not include the sports complex or any pocket parks currently in design. And any buildings that are associated with the parks, they are covered under the Public Works Department. So that is a separate funding source for the buildings themselves, not the parks. This is not meant to be read. So this is a summary of your existing assessment districts. It was actually presented to you earlier today. This is a listing of each of the costs per APN that the assessment districts fund into other parks, not the ones that we assessed in our condition assessment. Really, the summary comes down to is that in each of the 4 assessment districts, there's a total of 8,300 parcels, 8,320 parcels that are, or 24% of the community is paying into a separate assessment district already to fund the maintenance and operations and maintenance of a variety of parks throughout the community. That revenue that is generated is a total for fiscal year 22-23 of $5.5 million. In addition, the city council also puts in $827,000 from your general fund for those assessment districts. So this is one element that we want to talk about, the big picture and impacts to your community. We did not complete a condition assessment on these parks. So right now there is an assumption that the $5.5 million that is being funded for these parks will meets the conditions, or these parks are in good condition, and that no additional upgrades are required or no additional funding is required. However, that may be not a good assumption, as we haven't actually gone out and looked at the parks to figure out their overall condition assessment. So let's talk about land use. Right now, 42% of your community is comprised of single-family residential homes, 19% of multifamily, 33% commercial retail, and 4.7% industrial. That's just a piece of information that will tie into a little bit of the assessment and the financial analysis that's here to come in just a few minutes. So what Wallace Group did after taking this condition assessment, we looked at different funding options for the council to acknowledge as and impacts that how they would impact the community. So the first option is to complete a citywide assessment or form a citywide assessment district to fund the capital costs and the O&M of all the parks that we did the condition assessment on. It would exclude the parks that are included in the assessment districts that are already. So you would have the existing 4 assessment districts. In addition, you would do a full citywide assessment district to fund the capital costs and the operations and maintenance that we presented based on whatever level of service you want to identify, and the capital improvement program of $72 million. There would be some general fund contribution as it's an assessment district, and we would have to identify what the general benefit is. but that number has not been identified at that point. So there would be a general fund contribution coming from the city that would be required for this option 1. Option 2 would be a community facilities district that would fund all new capital costs, the $72 million, and the operations and maintenance of all parks and public spaces. And this includes all of the assessment district parks. So taking the value of how much money is being contributed on the assessment district side for those 4 assessment districts, plus the O&M, plus the capital costs. It also includes $827,000 from the general fund, which is what's already being contributed by the general fund to the 4 assessment districts. Option 3 would be a citywide district that would fund the capital costs and the O&M for all the parks, very similar to option 2, except that there would be no contribution from the general fund. It would be all borne by all property owners, no contribution by the city's general fund. Within each of these 3 options, the O&M costs have the 4 alternatives built into them. And so we've looked at it from 100%, 85, 70, and 55% level of service, so that you could see how the costs are impacted for a property owner based on the level of service. So there's a lot of information on this table, and it's very challenging to see. But option 1, and I've got it up here on my computer because I can't read that far away. So option 1, and I'm really going to focus in and hone in on the single family residence, as that's going to comprise 44% of your community. If we were to take an 85% level of service, which we would not expect you to be providing a 100% level of service, but an 85% or maybe even a 70, but at an 85% level of service for option 1, where the assessment districts still maintain their fees and the city just does a capital improvement program and an operations and maintenance assessment district, the cost per acre is going to be $301 annually. For option 2, comparative, if we actually roll all 4 of the landscape assessment districts in with this capital improvement project and all of the O&M for that, the costs for all the residents go to $373.90. However, you've got property owners, 8,320 property owners that no longer have 2 assessments assigned to them. So in option 1, those 8,320 property owners would have their existing assessment, which ranges from $144 to I think it's over $500 on some of them, $300, $400, somewhere in there. That money would go away. They would not have that assessment anymore, and now the cost per resident would be $373.90. Option 3, if you were to not include that $827,000 in the general fund, the cost goes up a little bit more and goes to $386 per residential single-family unit. So let's just compare a little bit side by side, and so with something that you can actually read. So under the existing assessment districts, again, I mentioned we have 8,320 parcels. The fund's $5.5 million, 4.9 is going from the residents, 0.8 is coming from the general fund. The annual cost per parcel varies anywhere from $183 to $550 per APN. On the existing city side, for the O&M budget, your current budget is about $8 million. This comes from the general fund, and it is representative of about a 65% level of service. All this money is coming from the general fund, and you do not have a separate capital improvement program right now. There is no additional funding besides this $8 million to fund any additional capital improvement projects at any of your parks. Under the new park assessment comparison on a per residential single family basis, as we kind of just walked through previously for the 3 different options, is under the 85% level of service, option 1, the cost for a residential single-family home would be $301, and your assessment district properties, those 8,320 parcels, would still maintain their existing assessment of $183 to $555. Option 2 would drop down to would increase to $374 per residential single family, but those 8,300 parcels no longer have their assessment. Option 3 excludes that $827,000 for the general fund. Costs will go up to $386 per residential single family. If you compare the contributions that would come from the city for these 3 options, under the existing option 1, the city would still pay the $827,000 into the general fund for those 4 assessment districts. In addition, we would be forming an assessment district for the other parks for the capital improvement, and there will be also a contribution that the city would have to pay for the general benefit. That number is unknown at this point. We would still need to evaluate what that looks like. Option 2 would note the existing assessment districts would go away. There would no longer be a cost, but that $827,000 would move from the general fund for the assessment districts and move it over to this assessment district. Option 3 is to exclude all money paid through by the city altogether. So it would be no cost to the city. All would be funded by the property owners. So one of these things, and this is not necessarily my area of expertise, I'm going to try and cover it as best I can, and if we have any further questions, Nate Hall is online. But it's in regards to the funding mechanisms themselves and when I talk about an assessment district versus a community facilities district. An assessment district, some of the pros that come along with that is that it's a majority vote of the landowners weighted by the assessment needed to pass, as opposed to a 2/3 vote for the CFD. So it's a 50+1 to pass an assessment district. The problem or the con with this is the burden lies with the city to show special benefit to each parcel. So as I mentioned, we've got to identify what the general benefit is and the special benefit. And an assessment district requires a special benefit to the property owners in order to assess the properties and to pass a proper Prop 218. A community facilities district, as mentioned above, requires a 2/3 vote. It does not require the strict benefit principles that are identified in an assessment district, and the CFD special tax can be levied for general benefit. The con with this is that it needs that 2/3 vote, which is harder to pass than an assessment district itself, which needs only a majority vote. So upon further review, there's some alternatives that the council can entertain. And again, I presented 3 different options for your review, as well as 4 levels of service for your operations and maintenance. And a combination of these is what we are requesting the council to provide guidance on.
So again, this document, there's 2 parts to this. The document itself is just the Parks Condition Assessment Report. It's a standalone document and doesn't have anything to do with the second half of the presentation in terms of the financial aspects of it. So it is a tool for us to be able to use to identify and prioritize work that we would do over the coming years. And there are a number of assumptions that were loaded into this to give you kind of a high-level view. So before you today are the 3 staff recommendations, which are to receive a presentation, to receive and file the Parks Assessment Report, and provide us with direction on consideration of possible funding alternatives. And again, what that means is for staff to take these comments of yours back and do some more work and then bring it back to you in a future meeting to get your input on. So with that, I would like to invite your questions and feedback.
Thank you. Any questions from the council? Yes, Mr. Cordero.
Question to you. Shifting the financing from the general fund to a residential fund or a citizen funding it, have you must have done this in some other communities.
An overall parks assessment, I don't, Mark, Matt, have you had? An overall parks assessment, I haven't seen it. Nahal might have seen it online. Assessment districts are formed for a variety of reasons, and this one was brought forward by the community as a funding mechanism for your parks. But I have not been part of an overall city assessment district. I have been part of various landscape and lighting districts for smaller communities or smaller portions of a community, but not for an overall city.
I'm just wondering, trying to get what the general population is going to accept. You're calling it a district and you're calling it assessment district. It's a tax.
Correct.
So how are these people? There's never a good time for a council to sit up here and raise taxes. And so how are the people accepting that, if anybody knows?
Madam Mayor, Mr. Cordero, Councilmember Cordero. So what the staff is proposing here is that this is a mechanism to identify the deficiencies in the park system right now, and then for staff to go back and study whether it's an assessment district, whether it's a community services district or some other mechanism. Ultimately, it's going to go to the voter. They're the ones that have to decide. Really, the presentation to the voter would have to come from, just like any other group that's out there looking to have something pass, as we did with Measure U, it would be the public having to step up and support it, create a committee if they really wanted to see it happen. So it really does become probably the best way to engage the community in deciding whether or not what their important projects are. Police, fire, public safety was the Measure U's major issue. And we just, in this proposal, would just be presenting where do the parks fall with our residents, and are they willing to really tax themselves to have the system improved and maintained at a level that is representative of their use.
Okay, thank you. That clears it up. Thank you very much.
Mr. Escobar.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So with the staff recommendation, the third, provide staff with direction to on consideration of possible funding alternative. Can you explain that entails that you guys will go back and look at those three options and see the feasibility, or what exactly would you guys, if we were to pass the third point of that?
Sure, Councilor Escobedo, we would take all of this information that you heard tonight. We would go back and do some more investigation. We would look more deeply into the existing condition of the landscape districts if the desire was to roll those into a master district. So at this point, it would be doing further investigation and bringing that information back to you.
Okay, because, as it was brought up by Councilmember Cordero, it's tax, and the general fund is people's tax. So at the end of the day, people, one way or the other, would be paying for the park. So I think that's important to clarify, because sometimes the language we use can be hard to catch. So I appreciate Mr. Cordero bringing that to the table. And it's important. I mean, there's never a good time for a tax. I personally, I don't want to get too ahead of this conversation, but some of the items in this report, and there's one here at page assessment, 2 out of 3 with the North Prescott Ranch Park. In this, there's they put in as a priority in number 5, 2 bollards required at North Driveway. I was looking at the map and I see what it means, but why 2? It can be 1. So there's, and then make a bunch of notes, and I'll be sharing those with you, because I think that if we're gonna strategize, I see that putting a bollard in a park is not as urgent as taking care of. There were some comments about a place where the wire is exposed. So definitely, I think it's more kind of like really look into items. So we really strategize, and at the end of the day, it's going to be on the voters. And I don't think it's going to be well received. But yeah, just want to clarify that item. And actually, it's not in my agenda. It's not in the agenda, the printed agenda. I couldn't find it. But yeah, just want to put it out there. Thank you.
Ms. Aguilar Hernandez, any comments from you?
Yes. How much is it going to cost us to continue to investigate this matter further? The funding.
I would imagine that we're probably not looking at more than $20,000 to bring you back a full and complete package. If we were going to an extreme amount of detail, I imagine it probably wouldn't take a lot to come back with some staff recommendations and with some input from Wallace and DTA. So it could be a couple of $1,000s funding wise. Time wise, I would imagine to bring you back some preliminary information, a couple of months, yeah. So we would be, looking at, again, fall to bring you back an item with some additional information.
Thank you.
And my other question is, are we exploring grants to supplement this, since it is in the environment? And a lot of our legislatures are very interested in the environment.
Councilor Aguilar Hernandez, we're always looking for funding sources to augment our existing budget, so we would be looking for funding sources to extend services on this project as well.
Thank you.
Madam Clerk, do we have any requests to speak?
We do not, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. So I think everything has pretty much been covered. There are more and more cities who are taxing themselves to fund some of the needs they have, because we're seeing at the state level, they're taking our money and they're spending it at other places, usually in the larger cities. So we don't really get the benefit many times, as you well know, even when you're writing competitive grants. But this is a great presentation, and thank you so much. I'm really proud of our parks. I think we have a great park system here in Santa Maria. And during COVID, when people were locked down, we really encouraged them. Though other people weren't, we were encouraging them and their families to use the parks. Because the median age here, I guess, is still 29. So we have a lot of young families, and the kids need to get out and run around. And our parks are just beautiful. But thank you very much for the presentation. So we'll receive the report and file it. Thank you very much. So now the next item on the agenda will be the interim city manager, Alex Posada.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the City Council. I just want to take a minute to thank Carrie and the Wallace Group for the detailed report that was presented. It really digs deep into our park system, and again, unfortunately, does identify that our deferred maintenance program over the last many years, is kind of catching up with us. So thanks Carrie and her staff for all the work they did, and her subcontractors too, and the DTA team, who is the financial side of this team. Coming up for you on June the 18th, we have a very special meeting coming up. You have closed session planned, and we'll be covering some topics including the downtown Vernon Group plan. You have a proclamation on Juneteenth. On the consent calendar, you'll be looking at the investment policy, an auditing contract, the public transit safety plan, along with grants easements to PG&E for bus charging infrastructure. Public hearings, you'll have governmental activities hearing on user fees. That is the second reading of the user fee item you had earlier. And then we will spend a good amount of our evening on the city budget, the final presentation of the city budget, with a recommendation that we move forward with the adoption of that budget. The July 2nd meeting was canceled, so there will not be a July 2nd meeting. We hope everyone has a safe 4th of July. We will, on July 16th, be back in closed session on labor negotiations and potentially some more information on the city manager recruitment. The chamber will be present with their businesses of the quarter, so we're looking forward to seeing who in our business community is going to get recognized this quarter. We have a couple of proclamations, Recreation and Park Month and Encampment Response for Homeless, Recreation and Park Month, the presentation, or the proclamation, the presentations will be for encampment response and the local master plan for aging and age-friendly communities, the livability index. Let's see, also on that consent calendar, you're going to see appropriation limit adoption, award of a contract for the North DeJoy Pocket Park, award of professional services agreements for the active transportation program, limited parking on Air Park Drive, and appointments to boards and commissions, probably really to reiterate that we do have vacancies on our boards and commissions. Each council member, for the most part, has an appointment for the boards and commissions. The city clerk will be distributing out what boards and commissions have vacancies, and then we'll need you to scour the community to come out with good nominees to present at the July meeting. Let's see, and we will also be looking at the development agreement with the Vernon Group for the downtown projects. And August 6th is a light agenda. We're trying to keep it light because that is the National Night Out.
Oh.
So we'll try to get you in council meeting quickly and out quickly so that the council members can go out and enjoy National Night Out along with the members of law enforcement that are out there providing this great community event. And with that, Mayor, I will close my report.
Thank you. We could always do our council meeting out there. We'd have a huge crowd.
Yep.
And good music. Mr. Cordero.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I attended 2 Memorial Day events, one at the cemetery to honor our current and past veterans, and one at the Elks Lodge that was actually out at the rodeo grounds. And both of them were great to attend. I also rode in the parade last Saturday. That was a great event, of course, as the Elks always puts on a good program. And I attended the law enforcement Special Olympics run that was held in front of the library and managed by Lieutenant Nathan Tortorico, and I thought it was very well done. Some great speakers. You were there, Mayor, and saw the DA speak. There was a lot of celebrity runners. They did their best. And Tortorico did a great job. I'm proud to say that I was involved in the hiring process for him, and I'm certainly proud of his successes here in the police department. And that's all I have, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
Mr. Escobedo.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. On May 25th, I participated in the ride with the Rangers. And great job, by the way, from the Rec and Parks, you guys. It was a lot of fun. And on the 29th, I attended the rodeo meet and greet. Congratulations to Tori, the winner. On the 30th, I attend the Por Vida graduation and awards ceremony. On the 31st, I attend the rodeo bar party. And on June 3rd, I also attend the city council special meeting on where we talk about the budget. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Aguilera Hernandez?
I attended the law enforcement torch run, and I attended the rodeo as well. And it was very exciting to see the VTC Quinn win. I believe she raised over $600,000. It was quite a success for her. And the budget meeting yesterday as well. That's all.
Thank you. So, May 21st, I did the Ben Hayes Show. On the 22nd of May, I attended the Marion Regional Medical Center Foundation Board meeting. And later, I attended the Scholarship Foundation of Santa Barbara Awards ceremony. I don't know how many millions of dollars were given out at that ceremony, but the kids in Santa Maria Valley are really being acknowledged for all their hard work they do in school. Then I went over to Santa Maria High School to attend the Senior Awards Night. Again, lots of money given out to all these kids. On the 23rd of May, I attended Liberty Elementary Career Fair. And that afternoon, the Public Works Week barbecue, and they do a very, very good barbecue, Mr. Fulgoni. On the 24th, I did the Rick Blameyer Show and did the Cruisin' Nationals dinner and the Broadway Cruise. And I was fortunate enough to go in our police car cruiser. On the 25th, the Mayor's Youth Task Force went out to the cemetery and put flags on the veterans' graves. And then I went over and did the judging car for the Cruising Nationals. And on the 26th, we did the award ceremony for the Cruising Nationals. On the 27th, I attended the Memorial Day Veteran Program at the cemetery, where we lay a wreath in recognition of all of our fallen. And also went out to the Elks Rodeo grounds, where they also had a ceremony for our veterans. May 29th at the Santa Maria Rodeo VIP meet and greet. June 1st, Santa Maria Rodeo Parade. And you know, it's always fun to see all the kids get so excited at the parades. On the June 22nd, attended the California Alliance of Local Electeds. June 3rd, I did the law enforcement, I didn't do the law enforcement torch run, I was just there and I got a t-shirt. But thank you, Lieutenant Tortorico and Chief Schneider that was there running, and our DA, John Savernock also. And I want to thank all of our law enforcement, our PD, the CHP, the sheriff, and probation. They were all there. And they raise money for Special Olympics, and they go out and do that every year, and I think it's great. So thank you guys for doing that. And that is it. Anything else going on? Thank you. This meeting is adjourned. you.